And this is the first segment of the main event, as the pleasure is mine to welcome to Gem FM and to the Comfort Zone for the very first time, Mr. Francis Urias Peters. And I mean, it's all well and good, Mr. Peters, seeing a picture of your beautiful wife, but we would really love to be seeing you on the camera, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Pablo,
Mr. Peters, and welcome to the Comfort Zone.
Pablo, I'm having a problem with my.
Oh, you're having some technical difficulty.
Yeah, with the camera on my.
Okay, wonderful. So good afternoon, Mrs. Peters.
Yeah, Pablo. So I'm having some problem with my camera, so I had to borrow my
Okay. All right.
Two shall become one.
Yes. Good afternoon, and welcome to Gem FM and to the Comfort Zone for the very first time.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. I just rushed back from Labocan, trying to do some finishing touches for the second show tonight. Yes.
Okay. Well, for those people who may not know exactly who Mr. Francis Urias Peters is, I'm going to set them off and you are going to round it up for me. Francis Urias Peters is a Grenadian-born playwright who utilizes drama or theater as his main tool to address several health and social issues. He's a graduate of the Edna Manley College of Visual and Performing Arts, Jamaica, where he studied drama in education and theater arts. In 1983, he staged his first drama production at the Marichofu Theater in St. George's, Grenada. Since his return to Grenada in 1986, he has scripted, produced, and directed several scripts for radio and the stage. Some of his prominent works include Struggle, Mayhem in Paradise, Prison Without Walls, Sentence to Hang, Rivals in Conflict, The Junction Box, Who is the Servant, A Case of Incest, Shattered Expectations, and The Burial of Miss Faithfully. Mr. Peters, he's an award-winning, he's had award-winning radio dramas, Olivia's Cry, Mervin's Story, and Under the Shadows of Darkness, and have won local and regional, he has won local and regional PAHO Caribbean Media Award for Excellence in Health Journalism. He was the overall winner in 1999 and 2007. In 2012, the Edna Manley College of Visual and Performing Arts celebrated its 50th anniversary and recognized Francis Urias Peters as one of its top 50 outstanding alumni from the drama school. In 2013, to celebrate his 30th year as a playwright, Peters, he was showing Redemption Time, which is a full-length epic drama set during the Eric Gary P.R.G. Maurice Bishop era, 1978 to 1983, which took Peters 10 years to complete. So, this is it in a nutshell. Anything that you'd want to add to this professional piece that I've done on you, or anything else that you want to add, apart from the fact you're married to Miss Ann Peters, who once was a candidate for the NDC and served in the NDC administration of 2008 to 2013.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I'm very humbled. I'm honored, for the introductions, and I think my work speaks for itself. If people who know me will know that I speak through the arts, and I think that that's enough for the time being. Yeah.
That's enough for the time being. Speaking about speaking to the arts, we see that you have first, you refer to as a public education specialist. Could you, in a nutshell, tell us what does that mean and what does that entail, a public education specialist?
Yeah, well, I think the best way to teach is through the arts. And when, for instance, if there is an issue, for instance, when we had to do something on incest, because prior to 1992 or 93 or thereabout, incest was not a crime in Grenada. And I could remember Miss Valerie Conwell, I think she was a former, deceased now. She was, I think, the president of Grenada's National Organization of Women. They wanted to get incest on the law books of this country. And they were lobbying government, they were lobbying in different corners, and that was not there. They need to reach out to the public. And so they knew my skill, understand the area of theater and the power of it. She approached me, and then I decided, hey, I'm going to write a play called A Case of Incest, but we changed it later on to What's Your Verdict? And we reached out to the public. It was done in every parish in Grenada, including Carriacou. And so that's part of the use of theater as an education to reach the public. I've also, in recent times, the Child Welfare Authority, they asked me to script a 16-part radio drama, which was successfully done, on parenting during the COVID era. And they wanted to reach a wider section of the population. So that, again, it's what I would consider to be an aspect of public education, where I'm using the arts to reach as many people as possible in a short and impacting space of time.
So how did you find, or how successful did you find that that to have been when you did that case of incest, and what is the yardstick you use to measure that kind of success?
Okay. Well, as I said before, that there was no incest, it was not a crime. And in Grenada prior to the mid-1990s. And so after the play was done, in fact, we invited Dr. Francis Alexis, who was the Attorney General at that time. He came to the play, and the interesting thing about that play was that we asked 12 members of the audience to sit to become members of the jury. In fact, it was a murder trial where a young man was charged for allegedly murdering his father. Because the father was allegedly having an incestuous relationship with the sister, the teenage sister. So it became a murder trial, but we used the contentious issues in the drama to focus on incest in the courtroom. And after Dr. Alexis saw that production, about 3 months after, Dr. Alexis met me somewhere, I think, on maybe Lucas Street, around there. And he says, Urias, you've got your law passed right now. So I just think that is enough. I believe that the impact of that production, because the play speaks to your emotions. And once you can get that emotional transference, you can, I think you could be successful. So they got the incest laws enacted on the law books of Grenada. However, so I guess that could be a yardstick. However, though, laws, I realize here, laws alone is not enough in order to bring about change. You have to have consistent bombardment to the public, let's say the relevant support systems in place. And as we still look around here in Grenada, where you hear that sexual crime seems to be a plague in our society, where you have men aged in their 50s allegedly assaulting children as young as 3 years of age, 5 years of age, 8 years of age. That is a problem. So I think I would like to be used. So let us have continuous radio dramas, use it in a very creative way, and see stiffer penalties, more shaming. Let's take a drastic measures to ensure that these perpetrators, that they understand here that this will not go unpaid. Also, those who may think about doing it, also to know here that there will be stiff penalties, and there will be naming and there will be shaming, but our children have to be protected. So I would just like to see, a series, not necessarily focusing only on the incest and the sexual crime, but issues within our communities here that people are grappling with, but we put it in a very dramatic and entertaining and creative way to reach the general public.
Okay, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Probably we really do need a series of that nature now in order to address some of the issues that we are faced with in our communities and so. You have a presentation that is supposed to be featured this evening, Calabash Night. You want to tell us a little bit about that? It's going to start at 8 p.m. this evening. You said there's going to be two airing of it, one this evening and one tomorrow evening. You want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, actually, we started last night. at the Labukan Creative Center, because we are the
Okay,
GCNA
yeah, last night and tonight,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, because we are the GCNA complex that's on the Kirani James Boulevard. And it is intimate theater at its best. Because of the COVID regulation, we cannot jam the place, so we have limited seating. And we call it, it's a series of entertainment package. And we call it Calabash Night because if we go back to our culture and to understand in the past how creative and that you can use a calabash. You can use a calabash to bathe, you can use a calabash to eat in, you can use a calabash to poop, to pee in, you can use a calabash to mix your dumpling. You know, so it's a very important implement in the past. Yeah, you could use it as a cap or as a helmet. So at Labukan, anything can come out of the calabash. That is
okay.
Yes, anything. I think there was a song which says, every West Indian, they used to eat, they used to drink, they used to sleep. Some also in a calabash.
In a calabash, yes. Trade winds, I think.
Trade winds, exactly.
Yes, okay.
Yes, so we have that. So we started last night, and what we featured in the first half of the culture presentation is Laura Lisa Richardson and Jonathan Francis. It's an acoustic song live presentation, and they're doing the first set. And the second half, it's a one-act comedy that's called Mama Guy. It is very, very hilarious because we think it's so important at this point in time. Pablo, with the pandemic and the economic meltdown, people need to smile, we need to laugh, we need to sing. And so Mama Guy, it's featured as the second half. So unfortunately or fortunately, I've been casted in the play and I'm working along with some of my graduates of the Labukan Creative Center. So it's like Clive Lloyd leading the Young West Indies team as a veteran. And we had fun. I mean, last night it was really, 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 really fun with the audience, especially, you know, took in the songs from that intimate setting. And then afterwards, it was really hilarious. Left them in a good mood. It's like though they come from church. Yeah. And what is important too is that we are creating an avenue because a lot of the COVID has affected worldwide, the Caribbean, and Grenada is no exception, the earning power of our cultural artists. Whether you're a dramatist, whether you're a musician, whether you're a singer. And you know, see that we have to adjust to the situation. We have not received any what they call stimulus package, if that is ever offered. So here now we're trying to find an avenue, you know, no matter how small it is, to support our young creatives. And that's one of the reasons why. And it was well supported. We had a full house last night. And I'm very, very, very happy. So tonight is going to be the second night. We're going to close off, take a rest. And then on the 14th and 15th, we're going to come back with the same package because the word is spreading.
Okay. Speaking about our creative arts, what would you say is the status of our creative arts? One, in the context of our national development, and two, in the context of, well, comparatively speaking, you know, in relation to similar productions from the region. Where do we stand as Grenadians?
Okay, maybe I should answer the second part of the question.
The second part first.
Yes. I remember, and this is a very sensitive issue because I believe when I was living in Jamaica.
I know.
Yes. Oh, yes. Because
sorry for putting you on the spot.
Especially, no. It's good. It's good to be put on the spot.
Yeah.
I think when I was leaving Jamaica in 1986, my directing tutor, Eugene Williams, a great influence on my life as a theater practitioner, still understanding some of the concepts that he tried to teach and just getting a grasp of it after almost 35 years, if you want to say. And he was saying one of the challenges that you're going to have going back to Grenada, a small island, where there isn't much theater activities happening in comparison to Jamaica. One of the challenges I'm going to have is that we're going to be starved for stimulation. Because when I go to the United States of America, I try to see at least two theater productions, because there you are stimulated and you get new ideas, you know, that you will not necessarily copy, but it actually stimulates your creative thinking and your imagination. And he said, you know, that is one of the problems that you have, because right now, even here, we have about three main theater groups, you know, and because of the challenges to stage a play, it is too expensive to stage a play, theater productions in the region, and Grenada is no exception. So we have those challenges. And he was right. I think that we are doing relatively well if you want to compare theater, because I think Jamaica, I believe, probably might be the only country where they're doing it full time, and living by it always a challenge. Yes, you do have Trinidad, might be on maybe behind Jamaica, but I would not speak of Cuba because I know that Cuba is a totally different setup in terms of their music, their drama, their dance. I mean, they are light years ahead of us. So I think to say we can hold our own. If you want to, because I believe I see there's a lot of natural talent here, even from the schools, from within the theater companies, there is a natural talent. But I still think that there's a lot more that we need, training that needs to be done, especially technical theater. Like for instance, in Jamaica and them other countries, you will have professional set designers. So if I wanted to write a play, I give it to a set designer. The script we discuss there. The set, and the set designer comes up with that concept, that thing here. The lighting technicians, all those things here that needs to be supported. So the technical aspect of theater, I think, here we have improved. We have come leaps and bounds in that, but I still think here that we need to focus more on that. So the other part of it is the support, because Grenada is such a small island. Everybody goes to the same person, the same business establishment for support, whether it's football, cricket, the arts, the steel band movement, calypso. So that is a big challenge. But I know if you want to compare us to the OECS, and let me just say Caribbean here, that we have done pretty well with at least three theater groups, three theater practicing playwrights. We have a lot to shout for, but still the support is there. I mean, has to be better. And I am focusing now on doing a lot of training because of where I am in my life. I think it's time for me to concentrate on giving back. And that's why when you come tonight or the following weekends when we were doing the play, you'll find myself on stage with some of the students to mentor them and to give them a sense of support and confidence. So I say things are fair, but we have that support for the arts and in theater. It really must be given priority. Coming back, I guess, is on the local front where we are. That's the first part of the question. You might have to repeat it for me.
Oh, well, the role of theater, in our overall national development agenda, how does it fit in our national development agenda? Or does it really have a role? And if so, what?
Yeah, well, if you come to the Labukan Creative Center, there's a plaque on the wall which says that the arts is education. And you cannot separate the two. People say, okay, yes, we need to have arts in education, but no, it's a contradiction in terms. The arts is education. The way I learned, the way a lot of us learn from babies, as our mothers sang for us, they teach us to dance. We learn our tables, in nursery rhyme. That's where we learn the months of the year. And again, from a historical standpoint, you cannot separate your history from your traditional values and thereby also the arts. They all are intertwined. And I have a great concern where that is concerned, because if I'm not mistaken, it's about 14 years that we have not had a solid arts festival. I think some time ago, maybe for 2 years, something was done on a scaled down basis. But to not having an arts festival, I believe, I can stand corrected, but for about 14 years, that is an indictment on the education and the cultural gatekeepers of the arts. And sad to say, I don't believe even when NDC was there too, I can't remember if we had any arts festival. So for 14 years, that's do the maths. I think that we have it's a serious problem. And when you have no arts and that support is not there, the people will perish. And because it is what we call something it's non-tangible, it's not like where you're taking blocks and put up and building a house. The arts is non-tangible, so I think we tend not to give it that prominence. But I must say though that Eric Matthew Gary, he was a smart guy. Yeah? He had something called Meet the People tour. I think
I remember that.
Yes, that was 1967, where he went to different communities, and the communities came together because arts bring the people together, and the different villages came together, and of course you sang. The Prime Minister was there. I believe during the People's Revolutionary Government also, a lot was the arts. A lot was on the arts. A lot of focus was placed on the arts. And for me, I think apart from those two governments, I do not think, yes, we have made a lot of effort, strides in the calypsos, in soca, the kind of staging and the sort of artists that we have coming out here. I must say that happens. But in some of that belief system, to believe that what we have, it is good, it is viable, it's a product. As we had Rex Netterford, one of the greatest Caribbean mind, the late deceased Rex Netterford, who went into the highways and byways and took the Jamaican folk dances and institutionalized them. So when you see a young Jamaican, a young school child dancing, it is part of them in the school system. Thelma Phillips, I think in the 50s also, anti-tech, she also went to the highways and highways, and where I think she had Dewey Ballet, that was the folk group, went to the rum shops, went to when they were having a Shango dance. And she took that, and made it into an institution. I think that is lacking. We had the Tivoli drummers there when they have to have the drum festival. Sad to say, I don't think that's a support from a national standpoint. It wasn't. It was there by some of the business sectors, but I think we should have jumped to that. So I am very concerned here that we are not paying enough attention to the creative arts for our own national development. The best way to teach is through drama, and that's why I do a lot of sessions in drama in education, where if the teacher knows, how you can use the dramatic format to teach any subject, just to stimulate a child, you're going to see better results even within your education system. Because right now, most of the children in the Caribbean say they hate school. It's boring. You sit down, listen to teacher or listen to your lecturer, you take notes and you have to regurgitate, and they say, hey, that's a bright child. But I think having a bit of the arts, having understand your history, your cultural tradition, I think we have to start focusing on that much more.
You speak a lot about training. What kind of training are you involved in presently, and how does one get into, into that, how does one get access, I should say, to that opportunity to be trained by a professional like you?
Well, the Labukan Creative Center, we are committed to that sort of training, and not just learn to act or to sing, but at least to give you an introduction into Grenadian history, Caribbean history, Grenadian folklore, Grenadian tradition, because to understand who we are, and I always say, even though what separates us or what identifies us as the different Caribbean people, there's two things: our history and our dialect, the way we speak. So for them, you hear Jamaican talk, that's a Jamaican. But apart from those two aspects, we are all, there's hardly anything where we are different. So we try to give our students, this is who we are. Be proud of our history, be proud of our dialect, that's our first language. And we had offered a CVQ, a Caribbean Vocational Qualification certificate, where we did a culture, it's a 6-month cultural performance course. And we have had 12 students who will be receiving the CVQ very, 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 very soon. And it was sponsored by an organization called Sky from England. But because of COVID, a lot of things have changed. We have taken just one slight step back, but we are getting ready to start advertising those courses again. But I say here, what you have to do is we give you the history, we give you a lot in the traditional values, we give you a course also in theater. So the issue of how to act, how to mount a production, voice and speech, those components are very, 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 very important. You have to do research, go into the community, give us a profile of the community, go to talk to elders. We talk about the folklore, folk stories. We also get individuals, like Wizard, Livingston, Nelson, Panis, all these folks to come to do sessions. So it's a nice, very in-depth course. And you can see what I like about that, though, is that you will see some of the students come in very shy, insecure, and at the end of the course, you do a performance or two, and you wonder, what is the same young people that came in? But you wonder who they are, that self-development, So we're going to hear from very sooner than later. The public will be hearing more about that as we try to continue with those courses. But there's a second component of Labukan that is headed by Anne Peters. That's the Allied Healthcare programs, where she focuses on training nursing assistants, orderlies. We also do courses in first aid, and that is going very, 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 very well.
You played a role in a short film some years ago, a film called Second Eulogy,
Yes.
Mind the Gap.
Uh-huh.
It was a sort of autobiographical film that was done by, what's the gentleman's name? Billy Gerard Frank.
Yes, yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and how you became associated with that and what was the real message of that film?
Yeah. Billy Gerard Frank, resident of the United States, but he born in Petit Martinique, so he's Grenadian. And because of our involvement in the arts, well, Billy, and also there's the producer, Lauren Beck. She is one of those who is an award-winning producer. You know, I think they won a major award for a film or a movie called Manchester by the Sea. So they were coming to Grenada to scout for talent, and they wanted local talents to get to play the film is set in Grenada. And they reached out to the Lafayette Creative Center and asked me to assist with the casting, getting a cast. And of course, that's what we did. But while I was there, I was asked just to read along with another person who was trying out for one of the roles. And I saw that Billy and Lauren looked at each other. Then they looked at Anne, and they looked at me, and I realized a conspiracy was starting at that point in time. And then I asked Urias, I think that you are going to be very good for the part of the father, that we're looking for. And I said no, and I looked back to Anne, thinking my wife is going to support me, and says no, Urias is too busy, and Urias will not be doing that. But my wife, she concurred with them. She concurred, and I didn't have a choice. And fortunately, of course, my character, the father, was a fisherman, and I was born in Lagoon Road, but I grew up in Marquis when I was 9 years of age. So fortunately, I was able to row a boat. At that point in time, in the 60s, the 50s, 60s, everybody in Lagoon Road in the bank had a boat. Just as people have a car now. So I could, from a child, I could oar. And one of the scenes that had to be shot was involved in the sea, with me as a fisherman and my son, and I have to be there pulling this oar, pulling this oar. Yeah. So I said, of course, it was a very, very, very good experience. But it was also, one of the themes was on homophobia. Yeah. The homophobia. I have to play the role of a father who had a gay son.
A gay son,
and that rejection, because we find that the son was a homosexual, and so it's one of the issues, the main issues that we had to deal with it. And I was happy to play the role, because for me, my whole spiritual outlook is that we are all human beings. No single person is the same, and I see a person as a human being, irrespective of whether you're homosexual, you're bisexual, you're trisexual,
whatever your preferences are.
Yes, yeah, we are all here as human beings. I'm more concerned in what is your role with regards to life. Do you help the people? Are you kind to others? You help the poor, the aged? Are we taking care of the environment? That is how I don't even want to use the word judge, but that is how I embrace people, So it was a wonderful experience. It was a short film. Being there, Anne, my wife, was the production designer, So she's now a big shot, although she was like as a production designer, and we gave the assistance, getting some of the local folks. There were folks even from Guelph. We had to do a couple of shortening scenes and rituals, and it was a very, very good experience here, which I enjoyed, and that was it. So,
okay. Yeah. Of all your productions, I did list quite a few when I was doing the introduction. Of all your productions, which would you qualify as the top 3?
Wow, I'm here put in a spot, like when you have a father.
For the second time this afternoon.
Yeah, but which is good. You have seven children, and which is your favorite? They have one that maybe always there with mama and papa. That loving, sweet one, all the hugs. You have other one not as loving, but will make sure if you do all the work, go and get the firewood, you know, cut the yard, you know.
Mr. Peters, fortunately for you, unlike real life children, these children cannot react to you and say, well, I like daddy because daddy like this one more than the other one. So
yes, I do agree, but I will say a play that has a very special place in my heart, it's like my first born major big play, was Struggle. And Struggle was set on a cocoa plantation in 1949-51 era. The first time it was staged, one person who came to the play, sociologist Urias, excellent production. The only thing that was missing from that Playboy is the personality or the mention of Eric Matthew Gary, because that was the period in which really Gary emerged and championed the cause of the working class. But why I liked it is a play that exploited who we are in a Grenadian folk life. We had the original songs, and we took it from the genre of the shotney and the jab chants there. We had the myths, you know, about the spirits and the jumbie. We had the Shango dances. We had the dialect and the drama. So it was a play really had a little bit of everything that really reflected who we are as Grenadian. And it was set at a historical period that is so important to Grenada's history and our development. And I say people who don't have a sense of the history is like a tree without roots, or people who forget their past history and are prone to make the mistakes of the past. So I think for me, that historical piece with all the strong feeling that we're able to evoke is so very important. We did it, I think, over in 2016. So Struggle, that I will say it is one of my best production. I then did Redemption Time, because that part of our Grenadian history, you know, the People's Revolutionary Government, you know, it was exciting, and yet still it had its dark side. So much was achieved, and there was so much tragedy. It was a difficult play to write. It took me 10 years, because I realized when I started to write that I had to put down the pen and paper, because I don't want my own personal bias and emotions just to get the better of me. I wanted to be truthful. I wanted to be factual. And I wanted to make a statement. And it was very, 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 very difficult. But that was staged in 2013, 30 years after the demise of the People's Revolutionary Government. And school children came to the play. In fact, they were the best audience. They reacted, the reaction. And they were asking Mr. Peters, did these things actually happen in Grenada? With the fighting and the bombing, and because we utilize technology, video and photography. And they want to know, did this happen in Grenada? And I said this and much more. It was a surreal experience. A woman left crying because she said she was pregnant at that time, when in October 19th, and she almost lost the baby because when the tank came through Gov or whatever it is, and they were catching water by the road and they were ordered to leave, and somebody almost stepped on the stomach. She said, I never thought I had so much pain, and I was able to exercise that pain on that night in 2013. So Redemption Time has that special place. And The Bare Elements Faithlin. It's a comedy. We even did it this recently with my students. You know, it's a play of death and dying, and the play is like a mirror. So this is how we behave as Grenadians. And I realized, you know, comedy is not easy to write. It is tougher to write than what they call a serious play. But Faithlin was done first in 1999, was staged twice in the United States of America. We had Oliver Samuels as part of the cast from Jamaica. We say this is a play that's been has a record, I believe, for the most stage production in Grenada, Faithlin. And so those three I will put. I love What's Your Verdict because of what it has done. So I guess those are the top three, but What's Your Verdict, if you want to talk about the plays, the courtroom drama, which was also done by our Labukan CBQ students, and Australian who came to the production at Labukan Creative Center. When he looked at the presentation, he wanted to know that if these were trained lawyers, because he himself was a lawyer. And he said that seeing the play, even though it was a dark theme on incest, it was the highlight of his 3-week stay in Grenada to show how important theater is. There's a play also I like called Mayhem in Paradise, which I think I will have to do that soon, because it's a play which looked at the whole issue of holding on to your patrimony, focused on a family. The landlord is called Dragon, and his aunt is in the United States of America, and another family. And they have this little property living close to the sea, which can be a prized property for development. The aunt wants to sell. he feels we don't have to sell. And there, a foreign investor wants to put up a wonderful restaurant overlooking the bay there. And there is a contentions where they're offering the locals within that village, how do you call this? When you want to offer the people the value for the property. I'm trying to lose the term now, I guess, but my market value. And so there is this contention there as to sell or not to sell. And then you have this guy broker, and you want to come and broker with Dragon, want him to sell, send them that's the neighbor to talk about this selling out of the lands. And he decided he's going to his life or the land, and he's not selling. So I think that's a play that is so very relevant at this point in time, because the concern is, and I had a good friend recently, he did some hiking along all the coastline of Grenada, and he is so concerned because he says as he's traveling, what he's seeing is these signs, says private property, no trespassing, bad dogs. And you realize sooner or later Grenada will have no access to some of our beaches and our bays. And something has to be done where, even so a person comes, yes, we love visitors because Grenadians are welcoming, but they have to be told, and this has to be a national policy, that, listen, you cannot block access to beaches and to bays because it's going to create problems. In Tobago, many years ago, that this happened where fishermen in one of the bays had access to a beach for generations, and then a resort was placed there where the fishermen lost access. And it became a very contentious issue, and until once a compromise was reached where they decided, okay, they're going to give the fishermen the IDs. And it so happened that the IDs so they can access the pathway to go to the beach. And then you had an incident where a security guard for that resort and a fisherman that's in Tobago had a confrontation, and this fisherman was shot. And the government had to step in now, so I know they bought over the resort so that the fishermen can have access to the bays. And we're seeing these things are stepping here right in Grenada, where we have to be careful. I mean, we love investment. We have nothing against investment here, but we have to understand here that there's some traditional values that have to go along with it. And you cannot be second-class citizens in your own country. And for the first time in a long time, I heard one of my colleagues spoke about that, beginning to feel here, am I a second-class citizens here? So that place speaks to holding on to your property, because you might sell if your property by the beach is so sell out, the money's going to done. It is going to finish. And we're going to have some problems. So I think that's a play I love. It's called Mayhem in Paradise, which I think needs to be done sooner than later.
Well, it's interesting that you raised that issue about access to our beaches and access to our bays, because our livelihoods are so tied to our beaches and our bays. Last week I had here Miss Claudette Pitt from Specto, Dr. Kenrith Carter, the veterinarian and international conservationist, and Mandu Seals, the tour operator. I had them on the program last week, and that was the theme of our conversation: our environment, our livelihood, and our existence. Because typically, our livelihood and our existence is so tied to our immediate environment. And we need to have a greater appreciation of that. Two things before I let you go in short. You spoke about the revolution and that period, and you spoke about having done presentations overseas. What kind of reception have you received, generally speaking, with your presentations overseas? How many of them have you done overseas? And coming out of the revolution, what would you say are some of the lessons that we can take from that period that can aid in our development going forward?
Yeah, the productions, I've done about three productions overseas. I think it was in the early 90s. I did the same one called Mayhem in Paradise, and that was well received by the Grenadian community. I also did a one-act, a one-man play in New York. Again, that was well received. It's frightening to reality to be on stage by yourself. But then the Burial of Miss Faitlin, when we went up, we were brought up by Harman Hall. The first, I think, was in 2002 or thereabout, I believe. And then we went back in 2003. we 2003 production, Oliver Samuels was brought in, and Oliver is an icon, and the Jamaicans support the theater. So once they heard that Oliver was there in the burial of his faithling, they turned out. They also had a Trinidadian, my good friend Susan Kennedy, and there's another Jamaican who played. So it was a nice Caribbean cast, played alongside our Grenadian cast. And we went to about three or four different venues. We also did in Washington D.C. It was sold out every single time. I mean, so it was a really a wonderful experience there that we had. You spoke also about you
mentioned about the revolution and the period, yes. In relation to the show that you did and telling the story from that period.
Yes,
and my question to you, therefore, is what are some of the lessons that you think, could coming out of that period that can aid in our development agenda going forward?
Excellent question, because I think that the history is there. Sometimes when we look at the revolution, based on which side that you view it, because some people were hurt, some people benefit a lot, and based on the side or through what lens that we look at it to, we can be lopsided, get very emotional, and just condemn and become very bitter. But I think that the history is there to teach us. And what I've learned here is that in the revolution, you had ultimate power there. You had a lot of young people, let's say, who were involved, who benefited, and a lot was done with agriculture for the performing arts. But what I've learned here is that when you have ultimate power, you have to understand that you have to be even more discreet. I have a gun, and the gun is a deadly weapon, not because I have a gun in my hand or a vehicle that I can drive at breakneck speed. And that is one thing that I think we have to learn. Even under the Eric Matthew Gary, I think Gary was a great guy. The only problem that we have again too, that he became an emperor, where he had the ultimate power, whatever I say goes. But I think history has still been unkind to him. But because we can spend a whole day talking about Gary and all the goodness that he has done, but still he had that emperor syndrome.
Yeah, we would never let our leader fall because we love him the best of all.
Yes, Let's see it again but the good thing with Gary too, that Gary never sold out. Gary was for the people, and a foreigner cannot come and just do any nonsense here. But still, the revolution, they had all the power. There was no constitution, so which means that they had the will, they had the license to do as they thought was right. But yet still, it failed. If any government that never supposed to have failed was the revolution, because there was no constitution, there was all the ultimate power, the army, the guns and everything, but that failed. And we have to learn. And what I learned most of all too, that whenever there's a crisis, as in anything in our homes, in any government, when there's a crisis, I think it is time that we call truce and let us sit down and talk, because the revolution was supposed to be for the people's revolutionary government. It was supposed to be for the people. On October 19th, when the people came out and demanded, listen, we want to know what is going on, they should have listened, because it's a people's revolution. And that is saying, when you have lost your way, when you forget a people, and you think this is my agenda, the Central Committee is in charge here, it is going to be tragic. And that is what I think here that we have to learn from the past. You've got to listen to the people. It's not about self, it's not about ideology, and particularly the average man and woman on the street, irrespective of what we have attained. And I think possibly that if we had that compromise, when things are going wrong, that can we sit down and iron it and trash it out and don't allow the ego, the male, the testosterone to get into control, then possibly we may not have been in this position. So that is what I'm done.
Youthful exuberance.
Yes. But we cannot lose focus that we are working on behalf of the people and not on behalf of, if you want to talk maybe presently here, where I think that we are in a crisis. We are in a crisis. People are crying out and one needs to be involved, listen to us, and I'm not too sure that is happening. And to say that if we tend to ignore the past history, we need to pay attention to what are the lessons can be learned. I'm not too sure that we are learning from that.
Okay. Well, as we close for this afternoon, before I let you off, because I know you have to go and finish your preparations for later.
Yes.
Any final words? What can we expect from Francis Urias Peters and Labukan going forward?
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm very preoccupied. I'm very conscious that I've lived more life than whatever I have remaining. I'm a child of the 50s, and I have this sort of urgency for me to start passing on, because especially playwriting is a difficult vocation. I think it's about the most difficult of all the arts. And playwrights are born. You cannot necessarily, you could go to 100 universities, 100 workshops, but if you don't have that God-given gift, that innate gift, it will not happen. It's like a sprinter. You know, no matter how much I try to sprint, even my child, I could run on the. I don't have that muscle, the muscle fibers for sprinting. You know, so no matter how much I try, so I think like the playwright, and I know there's a lot of young creatives, a lot of talent here, a lot of young poets coming up, and I would really like to pass on, you know, what I know, what I've learned over the years to the younger folks. Like to pass on even through Anne, you know, or folk songs or way of life, so that when it's our time to say goodbye to this world, that we can leave something here for the younger generation. And that's what I do, and that's what we committed at the Labukan Creative Center, you know, to focus on the arts and to pass on the traditions. And for me, if that can be realized with the support of the public, with the support of whatever related organization, we want to do much more. And that is where I am at this point in time. I'm also encouraging the public, you know, to call Labukan for the production at Calabash Night. We can only take bookings, must reserve because of the limited seating. And it has been a good one so far, you know, and I'm very happy to be here, Pablo, for giving me this opportunity to speak. Yeah. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peters. I've been wanting to have you on the Comfort Zone for some time now, and I do hope to have you at some other time. I also want to get Sister Anne to come on the Comfort Zone. I was hoping to have her for some time coming up soon, but she has other engagements. But I know that she has, you know, significant, information to share. On some of the issues that I want to speak to. So
Sister Anne is involved, and as I always say, there's another thing that since 17 years of age, Sister Anne has been in the sector from age 17 and is still
she's still
playing her role. You know.
Okay then. All right. So thank you very much. And all the best. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yes, man. All the best with Calabash later. So there we have it. This was our first guest for this afternoon, Mr. Francis Urias Peters, and I am expecting we have another guest to join us shortly. So in the meantime and between time, I'm going to take a short break with a song from one of our local artists. It's a song that is one of my favorite of his, actually, you know. A song called "Clip My Wings."
Yes, I want to play that. I want to play that for you. I want to play that for you, but at the same time, I want to just drop in a calabash as we.
Oh, in a calabash. Okay, no problem. Go right ahead.
If you allow me, I want to plug that one in there, in a calabash. Yes. I just happened to pull it up because I wanted to just share it with
in a calabash. Okay, no problem. Go right ahead.
Some of them they even washing their bunion in a calabash. In a calabash. Ay ay ay, ay ay ay, anchitelele. Ay ay ay, ay ay ay, anchitelele. Oh lady walk a mile and a half, anchitelele.
Pull up.
The old time calypso really sweet, plenty rhythm and plenty beat. They have some great calypso today, but don't forget yesterday. Every St. Lucian accustomed to drinking in a calabash. They're cooking, they're washing, they're scrubbing, they're cleaning in a calabash. You should see how they're eating their saltfish and onion in a calabash. Some of them they even washing their bunion in a calabash, in a calabash. Ay ay ay, ay ay ay, and she telele. Ay ay ay, ay ay ay, and she telele. Oh lady walk a mile and a half, and she telele. Oh lady walk a mile and a half, and she telele. Well, I'm waiting for this carnival to jump up with these criminals.
Oh, they clip my wings. You will swear they just won the lotto, because there was a joyful echo. They clip my wings. Ah, they clip my wings. He can return at last, he's done. And next one just by the dust. That old disease brought to his knees, no longer to torment us. But in the midst of my affliction, there is one thing I know for certain. They could clip my wings, but I will never stay down. They wrong. I don't need no wings to fly. Not I will soar up there among all the greats who champion the poor man's plight. I don't need no wings to fly. Not I. When people say please don't abandon us, that's when I am in full flight. So I will rise high above the pit they have been digging. So they better don't expect me to fall in. High above the malice and the spite, this voice will echo on through the night. And tell them to consider it carefully. They can decide to sell out all with patrimony. Cause I be ready, they want to sell between me and you. They might just sell out the people too. I will rise. One pen wouldn't break, one sell out won't shake. Don't make a mistake, I will rise.
I don't need no wings to fly. Welcome back to the Comfort Zone program for this afternoon. It is the 38th edition of the Comfort Zone taking place here this afternoon on GEM FM. And I am your host, Raphael Pablo, as we get into the second segment of the main event for this afternoon. And the pleasure is mine now to introduce to you our special guest in the person of Mr. Phillip Telesford. Now, Mr. Phillip Telesford, presently, he is the caretaker for the NDC caretaker, I should say, for the St. George Southeast constituency. That is where Mr. Gregory Bowen is the parliamentary representative, and where the former political leader of the NDC, Ms. Franca Bonadine, she was the caretaker for that constituency. Mr. Phillip Telesford, he is a chartered accountant, and he's also, he also has credentials as an international financial reporting for the International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, which has to do with setting the standards for financial statements and issues relating to such. And there's a lot more that can be said about him, but I will allow him to tell you whatever else that he feels is pertinent to present in the public domain here this afternoon. But the pleasure is mine to welcome to the Comfort Zone and to GEM FM, Mr. Phillip Telesford. Good afternoon to you and welcome. Mr. Telesford, your mic is muted.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we're hearing you now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, good afternoon to you, Pablo.
Yes, sir.
To
John Caliste is the man who runs things around here, John Caliste.
Yes, so that's the IT man, I imagine.
Yes, that's the man that the man that's doing everything, the man that has this operation going.
Wonderful.
You know? The man who built this dream.
Yes. Well, respect to you. Yes. And I want to thank both of you for having me on here this afternoon. I must say it is indeed a pleasure for me. Prior to my entry into frontline politics, I was never a media personality. So I am basically a rookie, trying to learn the ropes and all of that. But I see this as serious business. And so I thank you for the opportunity for making your program available to me so that I can speak on behalf of the people, because I believe when I speak from the very soul of our nation that has been crying out for many years for fresh voice, new thinking, and new blood in the political arena. And that is why I'm here today. So the question was asked to me earlier. Well, let me, even before I do that, I want to salute those of you who are listening, both locally here in Grenada via the GEM FM station, on Facebook, and what other platform that you might make this available to them. I want to salute everybody who is listening in this afternoon, and especially those of you who are out there in the diaspora who have a very keen interest in the development of our nation, and of course is looking forward to change anxiously as we are from this side of the hemisphere. So I want to salute each and every one of you. So as Pablo said it, my name is Phillip Telesford. And who am I? That was a question that was raised. And to answer your question, I like to start by saying I am a family man. I have a beautiful wife whom I cherish quite much, and 4 lovely children, including one beautiful daughter. And every time I look at them, I think about the wider Grenadian young people who are out there just looking for hope, because I know what it is. As a young person myself, having grown up and lived here in Grenada all my life, I understand the struggles. So I am a family man. I'm also a believer in Jesus Christ. Amen. Yeah, a professing Christian. And I stand by that because I believe that is what informs the way I treat with people, the way I conduct myself, and because I am accountable not only to myself, but to every human being that I encounter on a daily basis, because I believe that we are one people, and of course we have to be accountable to each and every one of us. I'm also a chartered accountant, as you mentioned earlier. I would have served on many board of directors prior to, and I do continue to serve on many boards, including the credit union movement, of which currently I am the president of the Grenada Cooperative Credit Union League, giving overall leadership and strategic guidance to the movement here locally. I'm also the managing director and founder of Excellent Farms Limited. That is a company that I would have founded some 10 years ago and have just come into fruition. And so we've started our operation and we are doing our thing from that side. I have been a practicing accountant and senior manager for the last 2 decades here in Grenada, working especially in the tourism industry. I work in 2 renowned hotels here locally, so I am well known within the hotel and hospitality industry. I'm also a practicing farmer by way of my farm, of course. But farming is something that has been, when I say farming, I'm speaking about agriculture. That has been something that has been very dear to me over the years, because I come from an agricultural-based family. So that is really what it is. And so that is basically going back to my roots. As Lucky Dubie would have said, you got to go back to the roots. And that is where I am right now, functioning in the agricultural sector. Very exciting, very rewarding. Lots of hard work indeed. But what makes the difference is the excitement of the convergence of agriculture with technology. And that is what I've brought to the parish of St. Patrick, how we can, by the touch of a button, be able to do so many different things. And so that is who I am in a nutshell. Presently, the NDC's choice caretaker for facilities, as you would have mentioned. So, in a summary, that is who I am. Okay, maybe you're not ready for me, so I'll just keep on talking a bit until you reposition yourself. I think you are just, so Grenada has been clamoring for youth voice. Grenada has been clamoring for change, and not just in the recent years. It has happened for a long time now. We have been clamoring for change as a people. And every time I look at where we are going, it seemed to me that we are stuck. We have been stuck in reverse gear for quite a number of years. And I cannot any longer sit back as a Grenadian and see my fellow men suffer, because that is what is really happening here in our country. I work in the hotel industry, and you know that within the industry, we have some of the lowest paid people as well as the highest paid people within the industry. But what we have been allowed to get from the industry over the years has been the lowest paid salaries. And I have looked at this, and my staff would tell you, because we have had these discussions, that we have never really done anything to ensure that our bona fide, authentic Grenadians benefit from the industry in a significant way. And by that I mean that many years ago, we really should have provided the opportunity by way of scholarship and by way of training, so that our young people would become the chefs and would become the hotel managers and the operation managers and the food and beverage managers and the executive housekeepers and all of those sweet and lofty high-paying positions that are available. We have not positioned our people to get that. And hospitality is a complex industry. But what we have been taught over the years is that it's just about making beds and serving tables. But I say to you, having experienced it, that it is much more than that. But we've never positioned our people to be able to benefit from that. And so when I was offered a job at a hotel, I was shocked that there was one available for Grenadian. Because what I know over the years is that all of those top jobs has been assigned, if I may say, to foreigners who would come in and do their thing, and that there is no one here who's able. And even hotel accounting, I say to you, it's a specialized field. I cannot, as a chartered accountant, simply walk in to a hotel and start performing accounting in the way that I know it. It is a specialized accounting process, if I might say that, because what they look at in hospitality accounting is so vastly different to what is looked at from the streamline accounting. And so I'm saying to us, we have not positioned our people to do that and to work in other industries.
Oh, well, that was definitely a mouthful. I had to, you helped me out greatly here because I had an issue, dealing with here that caused me to have to relocate and stuff like that. So it's a good thing that you are as versed as you are in in making your presentations, that you could have continued and allowed me to get myself sorted out here together. But it's interesting that you would be coming to the fore at this point in time, because I've met you, our paths have crossed many moons ago, but I haven't been acquainted with you then as I am becoming presently. And the fact that you coming out into the forefront, you said that you were not that kind of media person, but you will have to be if you are going to be involved as you are. But the thing is, we have a situation in this country where we've had one party has been the dominant political force for the past 25 or so years. And they have muddied the political waters so significantly, so much, that many people, many credible people who may otherwise have offered themselves to serve are not inclined to do so. What is it that would make you be brave enough? I mean, I know you're a man of faith. Is that sufficient? Has that been sufficient to drive you into the forefront at this point in time? Or what are some of the other issues that would drive you to be able to jump boldly into this muddied water that so many other people are trying to avoid?
Right. Well, thanks again. Well, I've always been in my quiet corner, a very courageous, brave person. I grew up like that. And but that is not what drove me. What drove me to get involved in frontline politics is that I recognize that I have been feeling something. I've been feeling the pulse of this country. And it seemed to me that heartbeat of our nation that I know and that I've read about and heard of, that pulse is getting weaker and weaker and weaker, as if to say, as a nation, we are suffocating, we are dying. And I'm saying, but this is not good enough. And I am feeling that, and I'm hearing people saying, we cannot speak, because if we speak, and we cannot go back to certain days because of this, and if we come out, we're going to be victimized, and all of that. And I'm saying, but if we continue like this, where would we be as a nation? So I said to myself and to my wife and family that we must do something about what is happening. And as I mentioned before, I've had lots of conversation with co-workers and other people regarding our country. And generally, we are not happy. We are stuck in reverse gear. We are going back. We've lost it. We have lost our place on the Caribbean stage, on the OECD stage. We are going back. We are regressing. And I am saying, we are in the 21st century. Look at what technology is doing in the world. Look at the intelligence of our young people. I'm saying to us, it would shock you of the number of persons with 1 and 2 degrees, as well as masters and so on, PhD, young people walking the streets of Grenada. It will shock you of their qualification, how bright these people are. But guess what? They cannot find a place. And it occurred to me that what we are trying to do is really ship our people off by way of scholarships, because there are absolutely no incentives to pull them back after they would have left Grenada for scholarship. And I'm saying on scholarships, and I'm saying, but where are we heading? Because if we continue this brain drain and people continue to leave in mass numbers, I looked at the nurses, I think it was the latter part of 2019, maybe halfway through 2019, thereabout, and I'm seeing this and I'm wondering what is happening. I look at the teachers and what is happening with them, and I'm saying these people, they just want to pick themselves up and leave. And many times as a young person, I felt the urge to do the same. But what is going to happen if all of our educated people leave and the few who are in business and able to maneuver and be able to continue the business operations, they will be in the minority. And this country is going to be taken over, with all due respect to our expats and foreigners who are here working. I respect you because I see myself as an international person with an international qualification, can work anywhere. I have no problem with you coming in. But I'm saying, when you look at the bona fide, authentic Grenadians who cannot find a place in the land of birth, added to that, we have a situation where we are selling most of our national assets, our prime assets. Yeah? Look at those, look at Livera, look at Calivini Island. I know it was in private hands for quite a long time. The Hog Island and the prime beachfront properties and those places that have been sold, and the talk is there about the airport and all of that. You're looking at that, and I'm saying that if we continue along this route that we are going, there will not be a place for the next generation. And therefore, somebody must stand up. Somebody must speak up. And if it costs me my life, that might just be a price worthy to be paid at this point in time. Yes? But I know it's not going to cost me my life. I know that. I'm saying to us, the time is here. Grenadian must stand up, must face the reality, must reckon with our history, must reckon with our present, and find a way to look to the future with some degree of optimism. So we cannot continue the way we are going. And the difference, when I look at it, back in the days of Fedon, Julian Fedon, he could have run to Graniton for rescue. He could have hidden in the hills in Graniton. But today, we are boxed in because we have sold everything, even Graniton. So if we have to run, the question is, where would we run? Where can we go? We can't even run and hide in Graniton anymore, because that too, I have learned, is in private hands. And so that is my motivation. That is my inspiration. When they think we cannot do better, somebody must rise up and say, Grenada deserves better. We must arise from our sleep and from our slumber and rescue our nation. Because you know what? There is a patriotic blood that flows through our veins. Every single one of us as Grenadians. We may not speak, but all it takes now is for one brave person to stand and say, I am a patriot. I'm going to defend my country and stand in honor of that. And I believe if I do that, many more will come on board, because this is the time to stand in defense of our beloved nation.
So, speaking speaking of that, and based on the challenges you say, the whole issue of the selling of our patrimony and stuff like that, what do you see as some of the other, really outstanding critical issues that we face? We see the issues with the teachers and all that goes with it. Can you give us, as from your vantage point, what are those critical elements of governance and, matters relating to our national development you see that are critical at this juncture?
Pablo, there are just so many. But of course, I would just try to see what I can deal with here. Quite a lot. The challenge that Grenada faces is that of courageous, visionary leadership. We are stuck there. And so, over the last 50 years, and I would put it like that because Grenada is on the verge of celebrating 50 years of its 50th anniversary of independence. That is where we are heading. And after 50 years, we really cannot make a boast. Yes, we are proud people. Yes, we are hardworking people. Yes, for ourselves, we have tried. But as a nation, we were plagued over the last 50 years by politicians. It was all about politics and power. It's about self-aggrandizement and self-enrichment. It's all about how you can play with the minds of people. That is what we have seen, with the exception of a few short instances where certain patriots would have arisen for very short periods of time and say, let us put our country first. Very short period of time. But the majority of it is one in which our country has been plagued by a struggle for power to maintain a grip on power. Brother, we cannot continue like this. The next 50 years cannot look as the past 50 years. As I said before, it seemed to me that we are stuck in reverse. There must be some visionary, courageous leader who is prepared to stand and move from reverse into forward gear. We must jolt this economy. We must shock the economy to move forward, because we have been in such a slumber for such a period of time. And the story is told. The story is told because when your main source of revenue becomes that of selling your birthright, of selling citizenship, when that becomes your main source of revenue, it tells you that you are heading down the road to destruction. You're heading down the road to destruction. It simply means that the fundamental development pillars have been ignored for such a long period of time that the country and the leadership of our nation has become so desperate that they have to now revert to selling your birthright. That is where we are. And therefore, I make this statement here saying that the next 50 years must be about the development of the very soul of Grenada, development of people, empowerment of the next generation of leaders. I make this statement many times, and I say this: failure is success without a successor. So when you hear leaders saying, I cannot find anyone else to replace me, they are saying it's really an indictment on themselves. They're simply saying, I have prepared this thing in such a way that nobody knows what I have been doing. I have been operating in the underworld, sort of, so that nobody could understand what I have been doing. And I care not to show anybody what I've been doing. But I want to say this. Managing a country is not rocket science. Managing a country calls for feelings. It calls for a heart. It calls for the appreciation of people. You see, I came from humble beginnings, and I pay respect to my parents for that. I know what it means to struggle, to skip a meal, to make sacrifices. I know what the importance of agriculture, because many a times the fruits were our meals. But I also say that that is what keeps us healthy. My father at 92, my mother at 82. That's the kind of life that we lived. You work hard, laugh plenty, yeah, and eat healthy. That is what it is. But I'm saying to us that we have positioned ourselves in leadership in such a way that it looks from the outside impossible that anyone could come in. It's not that difficult. You must love people, appreciate your history, have a vision for the future, be willing to listen. These are common things. But let me tell you this. No leader can sit in his office and prescribe, as it were, a medication or treatment for a constituency or a village or a parish. You must hear what the people want. Listen to that. Brother, I say to you, it was noised about many years ago that local government must be implanted in our democratic framework. I say to you, if you don't have local government, you're spinning top in mud. You must hear from people, know what they want, know how they feel, know how they think, understand the demographics, what the society is made up of. And that is why we have so many people in the hotel industry cannot find a decent, will never be able to earn a decent wage and to work at the higher level because you do not know what is there in the first place. And you see everybody else as not having the ability. That's a problem. Grenadians have tremendous abilities, tremendous potentials. I believe in my people. You know why? Because I have seen us do some very great things. Very great things. And because many of us would have left the shores of Grenada and have inserted themselves in other societies elsewhere and have made humongous strides and done tremendous things, that is sufficient to say that our people have what it takes to transform this place. But if you are in a dictatorship and you don't want to listen to anybody else, then you will never know what is needed to get this economy moving and to take your country forward. So we need leaders who will listen.
Mr. Phillip, these are some very interesting issues that you are bringing to the fore. But based on the things that you just said, and given the fact that the government that we get comes from a process of elections. And it's the people who vote for the parliamentary representatives and ultimately the people who make up the cabinet and parliament of this country. I want to share something with you that was shared by a radio personality. Now, sometime in 2018, after Nazim Burke gave up the leadership of the NDC and Joseph Andal became the interim political leader, he was in an interview with one of the radio stations, and the host of the program said the following to him. He said, because they were doing an analysis of the 2018 general elections that had passed just a few months ago. And he said to Mr. Andal that voters are no longer driven by the hard, they are no longer galvanized by the hardcore issues, that they have become, let's say, superficial and are driven by instant gratification. And as such, one political party has been taking full advantage of that situation, but the other party has been reluctant to move in that direction. And probably that's the direction that this other party, namely the NDC, needs to go if they're to be successful with the electorate of the country. What do you say to such a perspective about our voters? And what would it take to change such a mindset if it does exist?
Right. That's a very deep question. I don't so much agree with the full content of it. But I say to you, Grenadians are not dumb people. Grenadians are thinking people. And I can say this because I've had many instances where I've been reasoning with who you may consider street people on the street, on the blocks. I've been reasoning with people. And people who you think may not understand some of the complex issues. But they do. They do. Now, I do not believe that politics has to be about tricking people. But I believe that you must practice smart politics. Smart politics. Now, politics in Grenada has been about name calling, destroying people's character, and so that would have overshadowed the political landscape for the last few elections. You see, because what they sought to do was to build something, build a shadow really, a fake thing, in that it's all about how you look, it's all about how you can dance, it's all about, you know, destroying people's character and mudslinging and so on and so on. But in the process, as I mentioned earlier, it was only about protection of a person. So the past few elections has been about one man, one individual, the protection of the political future of one individual. That's it. Now, elections, and that's why I speak about smart politics. Elections cannot be and should never be about the protection of the political future of one individual or anybody for that matter. It must be about the 100,000 plus Grenadians living on this sweet piece of rock, and the more than 100,000 people who call themselves Grenadian, who know they are Grenadians, living outside there in the diaspora. Elections must be about the future of Grenada. It must be about the next generation. It cannot be about the next politician. Must be about the next generation. So, yes, there's a process of education, but there's also the matter of financing democracy. And I'm speaking to you Grenadians today, those of you at home and in the diaspora. If you want change in this country, you must contribute financially to that change. You cannot fold your arms and close your wallets and expect change, because democracy is a very costly enterprise. I call upon you, therefore, to finance your candidates, assist the candidates. I call upon the business community. If you want change, if you want better, put your money where your mouth is and where your mind is. This is how we're going to start to build, block by block, brick by brick. We will build this country. And it also has to do with you speaking up, talking to your neighbors, speaking to your children, speaking to your friends and your co-workers, educating them of our history, and speaking about what you want your future to be. What is the Grenadian future? What is the Grenadian destiny? What is this thing that we aspire, build, and advance? What is that thing? In order to do this together, in order to win this election, and it's not just about winning, it's about the transformative agenda. In order to secure the transformative agenda and give young people a chance, because it's really their thing, it's really our era, and to embrace the wisdom of those who would have gone before us, to really chart a serious, when I say gone before us, those who are senior to us, to really chart a course for the future development, the future prosperity of this beloved country. We must contribute financially and speak up for change. If what we are seeing on the news is not tolerable, then we got to speak up. If we know that this country has regressed, then there's a reason to speak. If we know that healthcare services is broken, and one is afraid to literally go into the hospital for treatment, then there is a reason to speak. If it is shameful that our men and women in uniform has to be battling for 4% increase, which amounts to some $50 or $60 in some instances, is unacceptable to you, then there is a reason to speak. If it is unacceptable that after 50 years of independence, we cannot feed our nation, we cannot feed ourselves, then there is a reason to speak. Yes? If we are selling out our prime, if there is talk about selling out our prime assets and digging ourselves deep into a hole that we cannot get out of, then there is a reason to speak. There are many reasons to speak in Grenada. I urge us as Grenadians, and I call upon you, speak up for heaven's sakes, because if you don't speak, the next generation will hold you guilty of silence.
Well said, sir. You mentioned earlier on about the whole issue of local government and how critical it is to our development trust going forward. What would you say are some of the more significant elements of a development agenda that we need to really get into, that we need to bring to the fore if we are to really progress as we ought to? What are those elements of a development agenda that we need going forward?
Right. So I would say, firstly, on top of my list has to be a bringing together, a marriage of our young people, the youth, technology, and investment. Get our people into investment. Get our young people into investment. Tap into their creative geniuses. Tap into the creative appetite that these young people possess. Get them into investment. There are too many of our young people who have so much talent, so much creativity, so much to offer, but no financial backing, nothing to go by. And as a result, they are left in the wind. I am saying any serious government who wants to see this country go forward must invest heavily in our youth by way of a marriage of technology, financial resources, and our young people. I want to say also that it is absolutely necessary or urgent that we make a marriage, another marriage, that of agriculture, agro-processing, and tourism. It is shameful, embarrassing to say the least, and I'm speaking from experience and knowledge here, when our guest comes to this island, that we have to feed them with imported products. That is not what they come here for. They came here so that they can sample our local cuisine, sample our fruits and vegetables, ground provisions. Yes, enjoy our art and craft, enjoy the performing arts, the culture, enjoy the history, which we fail to document. We need to do more to lift ourselves. Where is our pride? Lift the pride of our people. There must be a marriage of agro-processing, agriculture, and tourism for this thing to work. Because we have to be able to feed ourselves. God forbid that something happens on this island and the boats cannot dock at our port. God forbid. We would have to eat one another. This is a shame. This cannot be. After 50 years of independence, my brother, think about it. We will starve on this island. We will starve. There are very cheap pieces of equipment. I call it cheap, but good things not cheap. But there are pieces of equipment that can be used to assist our farmers. There is technology that is available. You know exactly what to plant, when to plant. You can predict the profitability well in advance. There is, listen, the technology that is there for agriculture, that can be employed in agriculture to make it exciting, to make it rewarding for young people. We need to embrace that. Look, we have some of the best soils in the world. This must be a blessed land. This must be a blessed land. Look at the topography of Grenada. Look at the amount of water. We're not even damming sufficient water. Look at the runoff of water on an annual basis. Dam the water. Also, we should still have a proper desalination facility in the event that we have long drought, periods of long drought, so that we can deal with the issue of shortages of water if in the event that that happens. We are just playing too much games with our very survival. Brother, I say this to you. Those who are in government, those who are in authority can summon a ship to ship them out in case they cannot survive here. You can do that. They have the power. They can summon a helicopter to take them out. You can't do that. I can't do that. The average Grenadian cannot do that. So we must build something that would enable us to survive in the event that we have an uncomfortable situation for a period of time. Let us do better. Let us invest properly. Let us make the correct investments into technology, into agriculture, into agro-processing, into people. People are the soul of our country. That's the very soul, that's the heartbeat of Grenada. The people. How can we be leaving them behind? Why are we importing so many other foreigners? I have no problem with foreigners, but I know what I'm saying. And giving away our prime properties. What is wrong with the Grenadian investor? Why can't we provide the necessary platform for them to invest and also expand on their investments? Why? Brother, we deserve better than this. And I say to us, if we are serious about the next generation, if we are serious about protecting our own survival on this island, we must vote for change. Democracy is a costly venture, and that is the system that we abide by. I love it. I love the freedom of our Grenadian people. I don't criticize people. The last election, I don't have anything ill to say about our voters, because they were made a promise that was broken with a very cold heart. Very cold. Pension, oil money, and all of this, very cold. They made a promise. They looked at people, thousands and thousands of our fellow Grenadians, eyeballed them and made a promise and broke it without any remorse. That is why the teachers are there today. That is why they're clamoring. That is why our public officers are clamoring, because they have fooled deliberately so. Any blind person could see a deliberate attempt to hoodwink the Grenadian people into voting for them, and turn only hours after to deny us the promise that you made. So I respect the votes that were cast in the last election, but I speak on behalf of the Grenadian people. You fooled me once. Shame on you. Shame on you. Yeah? But you ain't going to fool me twice. So my brother, you are in power today. You have done your bit. You have fooled us. I have a message for you. We will raise the money that is needed to run a vibrant, dynamic campaign the Grenadian people will give in to us. They will support us because they know when we speak, we come from the bowels of the Grenadian society. When we speak because we feel the pain of the other 100,000 Grenadians here and the balance in the diaspora. They know what we're speaking about because they feel exactly what we feel. And we are not into politics per se. We are into national development. That is what we are. And so we are asking for a chance to change this country in the right direction. That is what we're asking the Grenadian people for. And I am blessed to be one of the agents for change in this country. Yes? And I am accountable to myself, to my family, and to the rest of Grenada, both here locally and in the diaspora.
Wow. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Phillip Telesford. You know, as you mentioned about the promise that was made, the pre-election promises, and so something comes to mind. In recent times, we've heard the union leaders referring to these election cycle caveats that's always offered up by government whenever you're getting into an election cycle. And I would trust that they do not allow another election cycle caveat to woo them into a false sense of security where the voters will go out there, the workers of this country will go out there and vote and return Dr. Mitchell and his NNP into office once again. You spoke about the need for us to have certain things to be part of the conversation, and they should be part of the conversation now, not after the election cycle, not after the election results are out. We begin to speak about healthcare and all those issues. We need to speak about these issues during the election campaign. Finally, before you leave us, I cannot allow you to leave here if you don't share with us a little bit on this issue. It was reported by the GBN some time ago about you being involved with the Excellent Farms, project up in the St. Patrick East constituency. Can you tell us a little more about that? It's a poultry project that is supposed to have a total capacity of 50,000 birds and whatever else that goes with it. Can you tell us a little bit about that? When did that project start and at what stage of its development it is?
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, it's, because I don't really want to bring my business too much into that. But I would say to you, yes, we have a poultry farm, Excellent Farms Limited. Both my wife and I, over the last 10 years, would have been struggling, as it were, to raise the financial resources to set up this company. And we are blessed to say that as of today, actually 10 years after, we now have the very first batch of birds on the farm. We have Grenadians working, and we are excited about what that has already done for the surrounding areas, the parishes around and so on, including St. Patrick, of course. So we are excited about what is happening, and we continue to offer leadership to that company. And we believe that it is going to do well because we are committed to this. We are hardworking people. My wife is well trained and well seasoned. She comes with a lot of experience in the field of marketing. And of course, I'm a financial person with a lot of experience in the area of management and leadership. So I think with the competent staff that we have a very competent staff. We were able to hire other managers and so in various areas. And so with the other the management team and the board and And the rest of the staff, I'm sure that we will do extremely well here in Grenada. And we are counting on, again, on the support of our people to really make this thing a reality. The business is not about politics. We are not into politics when it comes to a business. We must separate both of them. But I understand why you would ask the question, but we continue to work hard to ensure its success. Yes. So thank you.
Yes, Mr. Telesford. Well, it's really been a pleasure having you here, and I know that you are going to be on the comfort zone. Well, not just on the comfort zone, you know. I know that you are going to be back on GMFM again and again. Not just on the comfort zone, but on the talking point. We have talking point on Friday and Saturday evenings from 8 p.m. So I expect that you are going to be on one of the talking point programs sometime. But I had to get you out here so that people can begin to have an appreciation as to who is Phillip Telesford. Because as you rightly said, although you have been involved for quite some time now, you work at management level, you know, in different entities and so, but you have not been out there in the public domain. So a lot of people don't know who is Phillip Telesford. So people have to get to know who is Phillip Telesford. And I'm happy to have had the opportunity to have you here this evening. But before I let you go, I want to share with you some of the comments that have been going on in the comments section in our live here this afternoon since you've been on. In fact, I see Mr. Tony David on here this afternoon. Although he is not one that I usually see on. Welcome, Mr. Tony David. It was a pleasure having you here this afternoon on the comfort zone. And we see, well, here are some of the comments. They need people like you, Brother Telesford. You're right on point. Someone else says, I'm hearing someone with a passion for Grenada that I haven't heard before for a very long time. Another person writes, we are playing too many games with our very survival. This is deep. And someone else says, Mr. A. Telesford, don't keep quiet. They say it is as they say it as they see it. And no, they says, oh, okay, I just get what the person is saying. The person says, A. Telesford, don't keep quiet. They say it as they see it, and that is the way to go. Those green machines are up for a challenge. NDC forward ever, backward never. Somebody, and the person says, amen. And someone is saying, if not Nas, this is the brother. And so you have made an impact. And we have someone rounding it up. Good show, Brother Telesford. So, you know, it's really a pleasure having had you. And I said you have made an impact with our viewers out there, and I expect to see you back sometime. So all the best with your project, all the best in your endeavor as the caretaker / candidate for the St. George Southeast constituency, and all the best for the NDC going forward. Okay, thank you once again for being here. Yes, go ahead.
If you would permit me.
Yes, sure.
And excuse my bad manners, I didn't bring up my...
Sure, no problem. This is your moment. This is your moment. This is your time.
Shine.
Well, they did such a wonderful, we had such a wonderful meeting last Tuesday, the branch. I was really deep touched at the level of turnout and the commitment that people gave. I mean, there was a particular committee that we were trying to form. We were only looking for 3 persons, and we got 7 volunteers. So instead of having a committee of 3, we have 7. And that is the kind of thing that I'm seeing happening. There is a stir, a serious stir. I want to salute the branch, Southeast St. George. I want to salute the residents of Southeast St. George and the entire Grenadian public. I salute you. I salute also the Grenadians who are out there in the diaspora, we love you. Yes, we do. And you are part of us.
That's
We
nice.
cannot divorce ourselves from you simply because you work and live outside there. You are Grenadian. You are fully Grenadian. And so we salute you. We love you. And if you're there listening to us, we want to thank you for tuning in. And this is our time, Grenada, for us to look to the future with a sense of hope and optimism. So I want to say thanks to every one of you. Thanks to my wife also. I'm sure she's listening on. And my children and my family. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to my mother and father. Thanks to them and everybody else. So big up everybody. Big up Randall. Randall is, I hope it's okay for me to do this. Randall is the guy who took me and said, "Guy, you got to do this. I'm stepping aside for you." well, I mean, Franca was there, of course, and I respect her highly. And she was due to ill health, and I salute her today. Sorry for my bad manners. We love you, Sister Franca. You're a wonderful woman. We don't know what we are missing by people like this. I mean, these are people who speak to you from the very fabric of their being. She says what she means, and she will do what she means. But sad enough that she had to exit due to ill health, so she may not be on the team this time around. But I thank her also for everything that she would have done. Thanks to Randall for inviting me in, because he could have just stepped back in because he was candidate before, well loved and appreciated in Southeast, and he would have given me the opportunity. So I say thanks to him, and big up my chairman and the crew. And all of those, you know who you are, who have been offering support in one way or the other. I say thank you, and God bless every single one of you. I pay respect to the NDC and its leadership for giving me the opportunity to represent the party from the Southeast St. George constituency branch. So I thank you for that, and big up to all of you. Blessings.
Wow.
Okay, well, once again, thank you very much, Mr. Telesford. I can say that from the very onset, from the very first time that you went out there in the public domain, representing the NDC, you have been doing yeoman service to the party, and you have been making a positive impact based on the feed, because I'm in the communities and people are following what's going on, and that's the kind of feedback that we keep getting. So kudos to you, kudos to the NDC for being able to attract someone of your caliber. And that's the thing, NDC tend to have a different caliber of people seeking to be associated with them than you would find hitherto with the other side. So once again, thank you very much. And that's one of the reasons why NDC is usually held to a different standard than the other side. So NDC has a reputation to maintain, and that's why we have people like Mr. Phillip Telesford being associated with the NDC at that level. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the weekend, sir. And looking forward to our continued rapport going forward.
Thank you again, Pablo.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Khalees.
Yes, sir. All right. So thank you very much to our audience, and thank you for the comments that you made out there, even while we had our first guest in the person of Mr. Francis Urias Peters. It was a wonderful afternoon session, and thank you to those who shared, thank you to those who liked, those who made the comments, Randall Robinson, to Neela Holder, John Khalees, you too, and we had Sonia Macklin Scott, a regular with us, Melinda V. Telesford. Is that a relative of you, Mr. Telesford? Anyway, you know, and Mr. Tony David, yeah. It was a pleasure having you. Our paths haven't crossed in quite a while. So, once again, thank you very much for being with us here on the Comfort Zone this afternoon. Remember, you have the talking point later on this evening at 8 p.m. I said I missed out yesterday evening, but I expect to be there with Brother John and with Delbert Baptiste for the talking point as we delve much deeper into those issues that have to do with our national development agenda in Pure Grenada, the Spice Country, Grenada, the state of Grenada, which includes Carriacou and Pitimatni. Thank you very much, Brother John.
Well, Pablo, what can I say? Listen to me. I am, my skin, my hair are having goosebumps. Since after the revolution, I haven't heard a vibrant, committed person like this touching me in that way. And I'm serious. I have not heard such a person with such enthusiasm, passion for Grenada as this brother, Telesford. Let me tell you something. There's a lot to come. I believe that this brother going to take Grenada to the next level that it needs to get to. And with the support of Mr. Robinson and the other members of the NDC, let me tell you something. I've heard other people spoken before. But this brother, he reminds me of the days when I used to stand in the crowd and just anticipating what next to come. And I cannot wait to see where he going to help take Grenada to. I want to say to the brother, I wish you great success above all things, that you prosper and be in good health so you could command the challenge that need to be commanded, that you will take up the mantle and run with it. You can't sit down. This is not the time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. This is your time, brother. Rise to the occasion and take it to the next level. The people watching you, I tell you, you have made an impact on the Grenadian people today. And I hope those of you who are here, just keep sharing this thing, because this is a message. This is a message that should be shared everywhere. I hope Pablo will make a clip of it so we could use it and use to promote this next movement that's coming. The next move, the next level, right here on Gem FM. I'm committed to doing this, to helping this. I tell you something, please, brothers and sisters, join in the struggle. The struggle is real. It's happening around us, and we have a leader here that needs your support. Please support him in Grenada, Carriacou, and Pitimatni, and in the diaspora. Please put some money behind the brother and help. If it's $2 a month, it makes a lot of difference. Support. Create the change that you want to see by supporting a candidate like this. Nobody speaks with any kind of passion if they don't believe. You see, Pablo, before we go, I wrote a piece this morning about leadership. There are some people who committed, some people are loyal, but you find those people are dedicated. As you are dedicated, you have a strong team. Because loyalty could shift, commitment could shift, but see, dedication, that don't shift. Dedicated people, and I know there's a lot of dedicated people behind you, brother. So keep on going, keep on plugging away, keep on picking those speeches, do it right. If it's once a month, you want to come on here and blast off, take off, we'll accommodate that. The door is open. Pablo, back to you.
Okay, well, that's it. This is where we bring the curtains down on Comfort Zone for this afternoon, as I said. Join us at 8 p.m. right here on Gem FM for the talking point with myself, Brother John Calise, and Brother Delbert, the co-host of the Talking Point program.